Uh, Good night, Freddie, and it's always a pleasure to be in your company. I look forward to making what I hope will be an informative contribution to tonight's show. I would have sent you the name of the title of my topic, if you can, right? Barbados mishandling cabin full free labor issue. Barbados mishandling coming full free labor issue. And this has to do with the sudden announcement, the surprising announcement that caught everybody off guard that as from October the 1st, our government has committed Barbados to in welcoming uh, uh, people from four other CARICOM countries to Barbados. They can come as long as they
Come
are
freely.
come freely before
Hmm.
work permit, before any restrictions or whatever. Let me put that into context. First of all, Barbados is a member of CARICOM. CARICOM has 20 countries, 15 members, and 5 associates. And of the 15 members, 12 of them, except for Bahamas, Haiti, and Montserrat, are part of CSME, Commonwealth, um, Single Market Economy, CARICOM
Hmm.
Single Market Economy,
Yes, yes.
which came into being in 2001. And Barbados has had lead responsibility since then. The Prime Minister, whoever your Prime Minister, has responsibility for certain subjects. That has been assigned to Barbados since then. And our Prime Minister, therefore, are the lead drivers of the establishment and operationalization of the Caribbean single market and economy. So, so, um, so 4 of the 12, Barbados,
Dominic.
Dominica,
Mhm.
Belize, and Saint Vincent and the Grenadines. 4. My question is, where are the other 8? Where, where, where? First of all, when in announcing this move, Prime Minister Holness, who is now chairman of CARICOM, who replaced our
Yes,
Prime Minister
yes,
as
yes.
chairman, announced that these 4 countries have reiterated their decision to to adopt this full all open doors, inclusive, no holds barred entry into bars for persons from fellow countries. These four
The four
countries,
countries,
four
yes,
countries. Okay.
yes.
No, you said reiterate. That means reiterate is only a big word for repeat or say again. So it means that some previous commitment would have been made
Hmm.
to take this step for him to say it would have been repeated.
Yes.
I would like to know. I have not talked to any Barbarians who have known that this was coming up for Barbados,
Hmm.
right? And what I found most disconcerting and upsetting. You talk about disrespect. I think Barbados have been totally disrespected. That Barbados could go to a CARICOM House of Government with our Prime Minister being not only being the outgoing chairman, but also the chairman, the Prime Minister who has lead responsibility, like just like her predecessors were for uh, I'm, I'm getting some calls that I should be getting. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry about
We
that.
miss
Yeah.
you. Repeat what you said just now because we missed a bit of that.
Okay. I'm saying
Uh-huh.
that I was very upset and
Hmm.
irritated and disappointed.
Hmm.
Yeah, somebody's calling me, and I did not. Okay, are you hearing me now? I'm
Yeah,
sorry
yeah,
about the
we're hearing you.
intrusion.
Whenever the
Okay,
call comes in, your volume drops, but your image
right,
and
because
sound remains.
I'm trying to disconnect.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyhow, she and that she would have gone. The foreign minister, Mr. Gary Summers, would have gone, and also our ambassador Gary Kong would at least have been part of the Barbados delegate. Now I'm surprised that it took Prime Minister Holness to announce something that involves Barbados. I understand you would have a role as incoming chairman to announce some of the decisions of it, but I still think even if he had if you had according to the courtesy of doing so of the new chairman, Barbados should have immediately come and explained it to Barbados, put it in context, seek to justify why is it being done now, without it being a fait accompli, already taken, and as though we have nothing to do about it. Well, now the 1st of October is not what 3 months away, basically.
It's tomorrow, really. I mean, at the rate time is going to be honest. Before you
Okay.
came back, you're like, hey, let's.
Okay. Now I read in the paper where by Minister Kerry Simmons in seeking to justify this decision, about which there was no hint. Nobody said in a previous statement at none of the town hall meetings and none of the parish speaks that we were going to go full hog into this program. We will be replacing basically the Caribbean Skills program, which is limited, that applies to all the members of CARICOM, to go further with this more intrusive, where Barbados is concerned, where we're going to go open our doors to the 3 other persons of 3 other countries who will come, whosoever may come, as long as they get entry to Barbados. Right? I felt that, and Mr. Simmons is saying it was not having explained it to us in the context. Then only to have the Prime Minister of Jamaica speak on it. The Prime Minister of Jamaica said that we reiterated the also and that we had agreed that that there was agreement that the whole process of this program had been going too slow. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Trinidad also made a statement in which he said that they were looking at it very carefully and considering it. Ms. Holden said about the same thing. So I'm saying, what is it about Barbados? On what grounds?
Really
And both Mr. Simmons and Ambassador Cameron's commission went on CBC a couple of mornings ago and spoke about it. Of course, he praised it and he said it was the most important decision coming out of that CARICOM has a government conference, right? And here is Barbados. Why do we have the party? Has not, as far as I know, been raised with Barbados, discussed with Barbados. It has not been spelled out. It has not. They have not told us how the process by which this will operate, by which will come into being. It is a fait accompli, and we are supposed to live like it or love it. I think that is unsatisfactory. I don't think Barbados could settle for it. First of all, Mr. Commisson, neither Mr. Commisson nor Minister Simmons has sought to explain yet the conditions under which this is going to take place.
Correct.
How is it going to be structured? How is it going to be organized? How will you people, when they come to Barbados, how will they be received? What will there be obligations? Our obligations to let them into this program. But let me remind you, CARICOM cannot impose its will on any other member. You have to voluntarily. So CARICOM has not imposed this on Barbados. And in CARICOM, you work on consensus, you work on agreement. That is why various countries could do various things at various times as it suits their interests. I therefore am wondering, how does it suit Barbados' interests to do it at this time without any context? Now, Mr. Commisson said it was very sad. Nobody, like I said, we've had these skills program since 2016, skills certificate program. How has that worked? What is the report on that? How successful? What were the problems? How will it be improved to deal with a more expansive program like this? And I feel therefore that they have Mr. Commisson, neither Mr. Commisson nor Mr. Simmons has explained to us why now. Has explained to us, these persons come to Barbados on this arrangement as is proposed. When they get it, and they come looking for work, how are they going to have in other countries? If you're going, you have to, if you're either sponsored or you have to serve a money that will last you for a few weeks while you find a job, while you find a place to live, etc. And you do not immediately become a burden on the state. Now, when these persons who come looking for work, what are the responsibilities that Barbados have towards them? If they get sick, can they go to the hospital? If they're homeless, whom do they go to? Do we immediately can after? So
are they going to be covered by our social security program?
All of those things are things that,
Are they going to be involved with our national insurance scheme?
in fact, I'm glad you raised that because um, some of these people, at least I'm sure, go into construction.
Mm-hmm.
And construction is a very, I know there's supposed to be a construction boom in Barbados. I know some Barbadians, I've heard you talk about, and I've heard you talk about, and I agree that some Barbadians, because of their smoking habits of marijuana, have become disincentivized to work and now the physical, and they smoke on the job. Fine.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I know from my personal experience and some members of my family who gone, youngsters who left school and want to get a job, going to construction, it is a very exploitative. There's no
It is.
concern for safety. You don't get a lunch hour. People
There's no
pay you
minimum
if
wage.
right. So they do that because the contractors who want to make the biggest profit, they bring the cheapest possible labor that further drives down the cost of labor in Barbados, and they go below all minimum wage sometimes
Mm-hmm.
to be able to exploit those persons at the expense of the country. And those persons, they're not on contract, they don't pay NIS, they don't make any contribution to revenue, to any revenue, BRA. So the country is
Yeah,
not really
yeah.
benefiting. I know,
How,
I know, for
how are
example,
you going to arrange all of that? I mean, none of that has any thought been given to this.
we don't know. We don't know. And you're doing this, don't we into crop over. And you know,
Mm-hmm.
once the crop over comes, the country's very distracted. Things growing more slowly than ever. You crop over. Then we are preparing for Carry Festa next year, 24th to 30th of August. Then September. How much time? What are the preparations that have been made? If not, what are the processes? Because process is important. Structure is important to get the outcome we want. Otherwise, how will we handle this new venture? I heard Ambassador Commission say that they do not believe that they have any upsurge and influx of persons. They don't believe. Is his belief good enough to make such a decisive decision, such an important step for Barbados? What studies have they done to work out the feasibility of it? The numbers, what the responsibility. So you can't just say, on what basis have they arrived at? I believe he was speaking for Barbados because he's the Barbados ambassador to CARICOM, and there's a CARICOM matter. On what basis would that belief that to which he referred have been arrived at? Just because you're trying to put a positive spin on it, but not giving no data. In this day of age, we need data, we need studies, we need
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
information on which to make decisions. So I'm
yeah.
saying
But the flip side too, Glyne, if I could interrupt you for a sec, the flip side, you're talking about the people coming here, but what about us going there? What conversations have been had with the governments of Dominica, the government of where's the other one against? Dominica,
Dominica
uh,
Belize,
Belize. I can't remember the other one now.
Dominica Belize, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
And St. Vincent and Grenadine. What discussions have been had with the governments of those countries for the reciprocation, so to speak, of Barbadians going there? How are we going to benefit? What accessibilities are we going to have to the local facilities there, the governmental facilities, and so on? I mean, it's like another knee jerk on thought. It just boggles your mind.
Right. Yeah, I'm glad you brought me back to a point I will finish off. When we talk about paying into the tax system,
Yeah.
into the benefit. Oh, right. Okay. I know from when I was High Commissioner in Canada before that, we had some Barbadians who had been going to Canada for years on the Canadian Farm Labor Program. It was a
Yeah.
seasonal program
Yes.
going on
Yes.
contract. But
Yes.
some of them used to be very vociferous in their criticism of the fact that money was being taken out from national insurance in Barbados, and that they were paying taxes
In
in
Canada.
Canada. They
Mhm.
felt the Canadian law is that any job that you do, once you're working, you have to pay taxes. Now some of them have gotten back theirs in a pension after they retired. But the point is that you are required to put something back in the country from which you're benefiting. What role we have that we can do the same thing in Barbados and get that they pay
Exactly.
into the system, helps to support the system which is in trouble. which is being heavily demanded, which has been depleted because of the shenanigans and the three card moves. I call it three card financial moves of the government, right? So we need to look at all those things. But on the other hand, there are reasons, and I fully understand. I'm not being anti-foreigner,
No,
anti-non-Barbarian. We have a right and a duty and a responsibility to challenge this because we are the ones who have to live with the repercussions of this decision. And we have to insist that it be made as
correct.
right as possible. And to, to, to have concerns, anxieties about people who are other than your country is normal. It has gone on from the beginning of time,
Hmm.
where people who have religious differences, where we look differently, dress
Cultural
differently,
differences,
different. All those,
all those, yeah.
all those are
Diet,
things.
all of that.
Diet, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
these persons going to come different to Barbados, but we have to be sure that we are ready for them. We can
Hmm.
accommodate them. Otherwise, what all we might do is develop slums again in Barbados.
Exactly. But Glenn, you mentioned just now that you were the High Commissioner to Canada. Is that right?
That's right.
Right. So Canada had a program set up for the farm workers. I mean, they didn't just arrive there and try to figure out what was going. Didn't they have a program set up, a
Of
process,
course.
and
Yes, that's
so
right.
forth, where you had to fall in line, so to speak? You had to meet certain criteria. You have to register. I mean, it weren't all those things required?
Because sometimes we would have meetings between the high commissioners
Hmm.
and people from the labor offices and the Canadian farmers to
Hmm.
discuss the ramifications and the operation
Yes.
system.
Yes.
Every year or two we would have them. So it was an open where people's responsibilities were clearly outlined. People
Yeah.
understood what the obligation and responsibility were. So we need to have to be told much
We
about
need
what part
transparency.
pre, precisely. We need, so far we've had none on
Yeah.
this regard. And I think too. I think that is again a slap in the. It is. I am surprised. By now this government has made so many missteps and bungled so many things. I should not be. I should no longer be surprised. I'm still don't understand why something as obvious as this is not something you can hide. You announce it before any prior discussion about it. You don't give you don't feel that people are going to ask. You don't feel you have a responsibility to give an outline and indication. I feel that the Minister of Foreign Affairs or the Minister of Labor or even the Prime Minister, because she's head of CARICOM, she's a lead Prime Minister for CSM. Should be a ministerial statement, the House Assembly, outlining the details of how this program will work.
Yeah,
Because when they come,
but even before Glyne, I would say even before the a decision was actually announced, she should have done that.
right, that is my argument from the first.
That she
But
should have done that. And I, to be honest with you, and I don't mean to cross you, but to be honest with you, I found it rather hilarious for Prime Minister Holness of Jamaica to be making the announcement, and Jamaica is not a part of the process.
that was going to be my next part. That's going to be my next part. No,
Oh
no,
my
when
God.
and they're talking about they're taking their time. They're looking at. I am based on what Prime Minister Holness said. I'm based also on what the foreign minister, I think his name is Sobers for Trinidad, said. I am getting memories of 1962 all again with the Federation. Remember,
Hmm.
they
Hmm.
want to be,
Hmm.
remember Sparrow Sound? If they didn't know, they didn't want Federation. Remember, they were only involved in certain parts and not the others. I am saying now, all, all of us are members of CSME, 15, right? How come you can only go so far? How come only four going? Where are the 11? It seems to
Yes,
me
yes.
that again they're looking after the interests of their home countries first and their population. They will be sensitive to the feelings, traditional feelings that they have not evaporated with the passage of time. I think they're probably gotten more acute of the insularity because when we had the federation between 1958 and 60, we were all colonies moving towards this movement and part of this movement. But then we, as a result of when Jamaica had a referendum, Norman Mine lost the referendum. Dr. Aaron Williams, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, famously said, "One from 10 leaves not," and therefore Jamaica was going, and there was going. That was the end of the federation, of the original federation. Okay, so how comes now? And Jamaica and Trinidad have a history of only being not only look at, for example, Trinidad, Barbados. Let me give you some history of the 1958-62 period. Barbados was regarded as the best place for the federal capital because of geographical location, etc. We had more facilities, etc. But Trinidad fought for it and then left it, just like they did with the CCJ, fought for the headquarters to be in Trinidad, but still have very limited use of the CCJ. All right. So I'm saying, I understand that I remember in 1962, at the time of the campaign for the referendum, I saw a picture on the front page of the Jamaican Glyne of a cartoon where they had a big white pig laying on its side, and across the body was marked Jamaica, and then they had Barbados, Dominica, and Lucia on the nipples. So there was also the feeling that the smaller countries would come and exploit and come to the bigger countries to live off, because Jamaica had Jamaica's dollar was more expensive than the US dollar. They had bauxite, they had oil, etc. And so there was this idea that everyone would be rushing to overrun there and create competition. And competition does happen because you'll be competing for jobs, you're competing for housing, you'll be competing for social services. So that is a realistic concern, and they can understand in their present economic and political circumstances, they might not think it's the opportune time for Jamaica or Trinidad or the other level part of this. What we have our own problems in Barbados: crime, high cost of living, shortage of housing, pressure on the welfare system, pressure on health, transportation. Okay, so we have our issues. So when these persons come, one would have to assume that as persons having access to all that there is in Barbados, and Barbados is still regarded as a well-developed country in the Caribbean, despite our present circumstances. But just like how some people feel that despite all the problems of the United States, the United States, land of milk and honey, streets have paved to go because of the long-standing realization and perception that we had been advanced. And so therefore, I feel that, don't forget, and that, let me put you in the context. In CARICOM, the OECS were regarded as what they call LDCs, lesser developed countries. Barbados, Guyana, Trinidad, Jamaica were regarded as MDCs, the more developed countries. And the CARICOM framework gave special concessions arrangement to the so-called LDCs to help them develop, because one of the handicaps of the Caribbean as a single market economy, or even as a regional movement, is that not all the countries share the same level of development, politically, socially, culturally. So you have disparities. So we can't have one policy that applies to all, because there are differences, shortfalls, deficits there. So these have been worked upon to bring persons up to mark. So there's no doubt that the OECS has done very well in its own right. They have a very strong union. They have a very strong currency. OECS dollar, OECS currency. And one of the good things about them is that neither of their individual prime minister or governments can devalue, take steps to put the value of the OECS dollar under pressure, because they're all bound by a common treaty that they cannot break out of it. So they have been able to have a very stable currency at the OECD, unlike Barbados and Guyana and Trinidad, who we have all individual currency, we can make decisions on our. So
Glyne, just as a matter of information, because you're sharing so much education with us, just in case there are people who may not understand or may not know who the OECS is. Could you just give just a brief outline of the member states of the OECS?
Yeah, it's called Organization of Eastern Caribbean
Caribbean
Countries,
states.
right? That would be Grenada, St. Lucia, Dominica, St. Vincent,
St.
St.
Kitts,
Kitts,
Nevis,
yes, it is Nevis,
yes, St. Lucia.
St. Lucia, yeah.
Yeah, and I think Antigua and Barbuda and Grenada as well.
Right, that's right. So,
Right.
in fact, they constitute there are about 7 of them, and they constitute what would have been called the little 8.